Excellent. Welcome everyone to today's session for the Eastern Connecticut State University group. It is good to see you today. Let me turn that camera on for just a moment. Welcome, welcome. Happy Tuesday, everybody. We have made it to Tuesday afternoon. Is it Friday yet? So today's session is kind of an introduction and covering the AI Design Assistant within your Ultra course view. So basically, we're going to be taking a course from scratch to not finished, but at least some structure and a few activities using the AI Design Assistant. I'm Carolyn Ponce. I'll be your facilitator for today's session. I may have met folks through various and sundry community events or admin office hours, who knows. So hi, good to see everybody again. If this is our first time getting to see or know each other, it is so nice to meet you. I love meeting new folks from all the various places. So yeah, super excited. A little bit more about what we're going to do today. We are looking at the AI Design Assistant within the Ultra environment. Now, because I don't necessarily know what you have enabled on your site yet or what you're looking at or if you're still making decisions about it, I am using an internal site today, which we have basically everything turned on. And it is a production site, so we won't be able to look or preview any of the newer tools that are coming in the next couple of months, but you'll want to keep an eye out for those on the release notes. But we're going to be looking at what is currently available in your production site. So things like the Unsplash repository for course images and banners and that type of thing. Using the AI Design Assistant to generate ideas for assignments, discussions, journal prompts, and the matching rubrics, which is one of my favorite tools. And then looking at it as far as test questions and even question banks if you're working with some newer content or even OER content and need those question banks. And then at the very end, we can tap into it, the Design Assistant, to look at a student-facing AI activity called the conversation. So that's kind of the plan today. Again, I am starting with a blank course, and so we'll get to see kind of music appreciation grow from the ground up. A few housekeeping items. We do have a running chat today, but in case there are questions that can't get populated over into the chat, please feel free to raise your hand. I'll try to keep an eye out for hands up. If I miss something, and don't stop immediately, no, I'm trying to get to a stopping place, but if I go too far, please feel free to come on the mic and kind of wave me down, just in case. About halfway through, we'll take a break, let everybody move around, head down hallways, get refreshed, renewed. I already got the big old blended coffee here to get us going. But if you need a pause in the middle, we will be taking that. So, yay. I think that's all the housekeeping items. I am going to go ahead and turn off the camera, lower any distractions, help with bandwidth. It's getting super hot down here in Arkansas, and sometimes that affects the Wi-Fi. It's been kind of interesting. Yay. Let's get going. So before we dive into our course, we want to kind of give you a little background for the AI Design Assistant and where it came from, the development on it, kind of some of the principles behind it. So again, if you're making decisions, if you're still in the kind of thought process, what do we turn on, where do we use it, how do we use it, maybe this will help out a little bit. So what is it? Well, it's exactly what the title says. It's a design assistant. It's not a design it for you. So it's not a way for the computer to take over the role of the instructional designer or even the instructor or subject matter expert, whoever is working with your courses or the course content, most specifically. So it doesn't write the content for you, but it is a way to get starter ideas, a starting point for prompts, or even maybe a basic rubric to build on. And then for your students, an AI that they could possibly interact with as a partner in, say, pre-writing activities or just kind of thought-provoking activities throughout their course content. So it's that kind of guide on the side, a little bit further on the side than the instructor wants to be. It hopefully is empowering instructors to do what they do best, which is create your content and teach your class. I know I've been teaching music appreciation for a long time now, and the thought of having a computer come in and like totally redesign my class was a little bit scary. It's like, no, this is my content. This is my class. But having that a little extra help or that little AI that you can get some ideas from has been really nice. So now the AI design assistant and any of the AI tools that will be coming down the road and going into Blackboard are always built based on the ideas behind the trustworthy AI framework. And this was some thought and some really high level thinking that a group did several years ago to build this list of guiding principles for our AI stuff. Now it's built on the ideas of fairness, reliability. The one that I love to point out is humans are always in control, transparency, explainability, privacy, security, and safety, value alignment, and accountability. Now I'm trying to grab that web link. I'm going to have to kind of get a new window open here, and I'm going to grab that. Web link on it because I want to make sure that you guys have that in order to know a little bit more about the AI trustworthy framework. It did not want me to open the web link straight from that. So I'm going to grab that link later. I apologize. I can grab it during the break because it's some good reading about kind of the background behind all of these principles. But there are a few principles that I want to point out for you. One is that humans are always in control. There's always a cancel button. There is always the ability to edit. And in any of these, if you're given multiple options, for example, the learning module feature, you can create up to 20 learning modules, but the instructor has to select each individual one that they want to choose to use. There's no select all button. That basically means that your instructor or the instructional designer can't just kind of go on autopilot and say, no, we're going to do this. We're going to do all of it and kind of pre-populate things. It'll pre-populate it, but they have to choose what they want. They have to review it and choose. The other one that I want to highlight is the transparency and explainability part of it. It goes in hand with some of the privacy security, but what you want to kind of think of as for this AI is it's not ChatGPT all of a sudden in your Blackboard. It's based off the Microsoft Azure OpenAI system. It's built into the Blackboard site. It is not pulling any of your information into the outside world to help share it and train models, and all of a sudden your information's way on the internet. That is not what's happening here. Everything's kind of safe and sound inside your course. More importantly, your faculty's information is safe and sound inside their course. And if you choose to do the conversation, your student comments are inside the course and not being shared out. So, and plus you can, as you're building your materials, you can really see where AI is getting some of its information. It's coming right from within your course content. When I start building out my course, it's going to start looking for images. It's going to go right to that course title. When I populate it with my syllabus and start building learning modules, it's going to bounce right off my course schedule that's part of my syllabus. It's really nice. So I'm going to give it one more time to try to find that. Get that link to work. There we go. There we go. I added typo in it. So there's that web link for that trustworthy framework and the approach. And you can check that out at your convenience. But I wanted to make sure that you had that link available. So I mentioned Microsoft. Now, the power behind the AI Design Assistant is from Microsoft using the Azure Open AI system. And that makes it awesome because we're partnering with an EdTech solution company that Anthology, more importantly, Blackboard, has been partnering with Microsoft, I mean, for decades now. Their shared values on the responsible application of AI and the responsible use within courses. It's not just a free-for-all, the Wild West, as we want to say. And from both sides, there's a large investment. Now, Anthology is bringing that constant education lens throughout the development of all of these tools, ensuring that it's aligned with what our customers are needing within their courses. So we're going to see that later on or in the future as more tools get built out using the AI Design Assistant. There's some really cool things coming down the road. A few reminders: we're leveraging AI to inspire and streamline the course building process. Mentioned at the very beginning, it's a do it with you, not a do it for you. I think that's key to remember. You are always in control. You have ultimate say of what happens in courses. Your instructors have that say as well, depending on how your course building process is going. Your Blackboard administrator or the kind of the committee or whoever makes those decisions, they have the say of what is available in your system. If you want to start out with only one of these tools available and kind of have a slow launch, that's cool. If you want to turn it all on and see what happens, that's cool too. Completely up to you. And also, no data is shared with AI from within the Blackboard environment. You're not posting all of a sudden all your PowerPoints online for everybody to read. No, not that, not happening. So everything stays nice and tidy inside your course, inside your environment. Now, because I am using an internal environment today, everything is enabled. We're going to kind of see as we go and play around. A few things that you might notice is the consistency within the tools. It tends to be the same button on most every page that we're going to click on, and it's kind of built in. It's not a separate tool that you go to. It's built into the assignment tool. It's built into your testing tool. So your instructors do not have to learn a whole new set of tools just to use it and integrate it within their course building process. So we're going to dive in. Music appreciation. Been teaching it for 18 years now. I think I know what I'm doing. However, I do like to start over every now and again. And that's what we're going to do today. The first thing that I want to show you is that when you have your Design Assistant turned on, you're going to start seeing some of these double plus signs. The double plus sign is one of our key icons for the AI Design Assistant. You'll see it within the module area here, the Create menu later on, not the Create menu, the plus sign menu later on, in the Assignment tool, and a couple of other places. So keep an eye out for those double plus signs. And that kind of gives you a note or kind of a clue that AI is available. So let's start at the top of the page. And I'm actually going to start with a course banner and kind of dive into the Unsplash repository. Now, a bit of a vocabulary change. They call it the course image on your kind of content tab there. But when you have the Unsplash repository enabled within the Design Assistant, you're going to see it as part of several different tools. Within your banner image area, it'll be one of the choices in the drop-down menu. On your learning modules, one of the choices for learning module images along with the AI Design Assistant itself, and within the text editor, within a lot of places in your course, in your content area, documents, in the documents area, test questions, answer, all over the place. So we're going to see that throughout today's session in a couple of places. But let's start with this course image. Now, I could always upload a banner from my device. That's fine. However, I am not the photographer or the person in the family you want working with Photoshop. That is my husband. That's what he does. I leave it alone. Now, it is already thinking this is a music class, and that's just bouncing off my course title, Music Appreciation. I don't have any preloaded content to kind of give it a leg up. So it's already thinking music appreciation, it's thinking melody and harmony. But what you may notice is that some of the images are kind of a little, okay, why is that harmony? Well, it's thinking some non-traditional, non-Western music along with it. But you can kind of get a sense of the type of images you're going to get. The Unsplash repository is a repository of probably millions of images that are royalty-free and can be used within your Blackboard site. So let's find a nice one to start with. A lot of keyboards here. Now remember, with any of these searches, it kind of acts like a Google search. So you do want to refine your search as you go. Now, I said millions of pictures. When I look up music, I get almost 10,000 results. Let's switch that up a little bit. Business, over 10,000 results. Now, as you refine and kind of get closer to some of our more specific content areas, those numbers are going to go down a little bit. But if I just put in science, there we go. Get some basic stock images that could be used to help out in making the course a little more engaging. I'm going to take it back over to music, and we're going to take this little sheet of music here. Now, there's not an image editor, so again, no Photoshop skills here. With these images, you can tend to be able to zoom in, zoom out, and then move it around the image, kind of in the placement to see where you want it to fall. Let's save that. And we're going to pull it in here. Now, for your banners and your learning module images, your instructors or instructional designers will need to populate alternative text. If you're using these within your course content, like on Ultra Documents, for example, the alternative text is already pre-filled for you. So you don't have to worry about it there. Just in some of the larger places on the outside of your course content. Keep in mind that that alternative text is handy dandy for accessibility. It helps students who are utilizing screen reader technologies to be able to fully engage with that content. And of course, image, you may feel like that's kind of not something that they may need, but again, you're helping them engage with the course, not just skip it over it. Because if you mark it decorative, it just gets skipped. So, this is sheet music or piano. I'll go ahead and warn, I don't type and talk very well. So there we go. Now we have our new course banner. Now let's get to making our learning modules. Now you could click the button. If you have any pre-populated content, like a course template or anything that the instructor has already copied into the class, the auto-generate module button will be located under the plus sign. And I'm going to show that in a moment. So let's go ahead and create some. Now it's just going to think music appreciation for right now. So already we got foundations, genres, role of music in society, in the future. So we start out with 4 basic learning modules that could be used as far as titles, descriptions, and it's trying to populate some of those images. Now these are nice. This is something that I could use if I wanted to, and think about it if you're creating a brand new course, brand new content, it might be a great place to start. On the left-hand side, and pretty much on all of these tools, you'll have some sort of menu where you can refine what the AI is providing you. We're going to play with that in just a moment, but certain things that you can do is tell it which title you want to give it, week, chapter, module, unit, kind of depends on what you're doing as far as all of your courses, if there's a template to follow. You can tell it to include images or not, include descriptions or not, adjust complexity, even the number of learning modules, all the way up to 20. On all of these menus, when you see advanced options, that allows you to choose or select output language. So if you're working with a class, say in Spanish or in French, you can get those different languages provided by the AI. You just always want to double check. I would not be writing this class in Spanish. Again, that's the husband. But I could fake it for a little bit with written. But there's a long list of available languages that you'll want to check out. Now I'm going to back up just, wait a minute, I want to add one. We're going to add one. Oh, I do like that one. I need to add that one. Because what I wanted you to see is that once you have content or other learning modules in your course, that auto-generate modules becomes part of your plus sign menu. So I'm going to go ahead and upload a file into the class. This is going to be my course syllabus because I did want to show you something really cool. There we go. Sample syllabus. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and make that visible. Now my syllabus, this is purely a sample, but it is written off my regular course syllabus. It includes, at the very, very end, a course schedule where I go through with my students the learning modules that are part of the course. And in this example, I even have my dates already pre-filled, but I've got my module titles already available and all the things. We're going to see what the AI can make from this. So I'm going to go back up to our plus sign, go to auto generate modules. And instead of letting the AI generate on its own, I'm going to kind of pause them for a moment and go and select that sample syllabus. So all I did was click select course items, dig into the course a little bit, find the item that I wanted it to look at, and yes, you can select multiple items if you need to. I'm going to select those. And I do want the word module as my prefix. We need to go ahead and have that. And I'm not going to let it, I don't need the images. I want to add my own from the Unsplash repository. And I teach freshmen. So we're going to kind of work with that complexity a little bit. And I need 8 learning modules. And generate again. So while it's spinning, take a breather. I'm going to do a quick check-in with the chat, see how we're doing. Looks like we're doing great. No hands up at this time. Yay. Now, there are, if you remember from my syllabus, those are the titles that matched my course outline or that schedule. Now, I will share, he's pretty much on the ball today, my AI design assistant. Sometimes they get creative. Sometimes it gets creative with the titles, and it may say the Baroque period and its composers, or highlights from the classical period, something like that. It tries to get creative, but today he's pretty much on the ball. This last one is not part of my syllabus. Now it is bouncing off of my learning objectives from my class. Sorry, it didn't bounce off the schedule. It's bouncing off the learning objectives. So you may see that come into play a little bit. So if you do have a course schedule already written out, Word, PDF, whatever, pop that in the class, get the modules from there. That's at least a few clicks that you don't have to make yourself. So I am going to skip that last one. We don't need it. I need these top 7. And I'm going to go ahead and add. The little blue note at the top just mentions that this is AI generated content and needs to be reviewed for accuracy. So with any of these descriptions, you're going to want to go into the edit mode, double check. I even read these out loud. You know, the old trick of go and stand in front of a mirror and read whatever you wrote to make sure, 1, it's all correct, 2, it sounds like you. The descriptions on learning modules help add so much value to the course, especially for students. It gives them a little bit more of the content to engage with. And you want the sound of this content to be the same and the tone to be the same as your own course content. So definitely read through it for accuracy, biases, all the things, and then make sure it sounds like you. Or if you're working with faculty who are using it, make sure it sounds like them. What I wanted to show you is that you still have the maximum 750 characters. So if you already have descriptions, you can populate that. So let's go ahead and head over back to the chat. We do have a hand up.
Hi, Carolyn. Quick question.
Yeah.
In regards to the files like what you did with your syllabus, or I believe what your schedule was, do those files all have to always be living in the course content for them to be able to use for that feature? Yes, it does have to be in the course itself. Now that's part of the kind of this privacy security for the design assistant, and that everything that it looks at is inside your course. So here's a trick for that. If you have files that you don't want students to see, just have a folder at the bottom, keep it hidden, and have those files stored there. Now, if those files need to not stay in the course after the course has already been developed, once you're done using the AI Design Assistant, you can go in and remove that content from the course, so it doesn't have to stay. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to check. All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. So, what was I going to do? Oh, learning module images. Remember from earlier when we were talking about Unsplash, the second place that it lives is within your learning module images. Now you can tap into the AI Design Assistant to generate images. You've already seen some examples of what it's generating. I used to get a lot of trees. Now at least I am getting something that looks like cartoon musicians. And I could use that for my class. Or let's go into Unsplash again. It's picking up titles from my learning module as well as the course. So now here's the cool part. If you don't want it to pre-populate these search terms, it doesn't have to. That is a setting, and it can be turned off as well. So they just get the images, or they have to put in search terms, instructional designers or the faculty, before any images get populated. Let me take off and elements, and I try not to do the same pictures all the time. There we go. Headphones, yellow background. There we go. And same as before, you'll want to add in the alternative text. And these are black headphones. And I don't know how to say black bulky head, whatever. We'll save that there. So in just a few moments, except for the talking, I was able to basically create all of the learning modules for my course. I still need to move some things around, but I have my banner and I have started on some editing where I can add more engaging content. So where can we go next? I'm going to move this role of music and society towards the top because there's a method to this, because we're going to build out some things from this particular learning module. And I want it kind of at the top so we have it. Okay. Before we do that, because that'll be for our assignments, we're going to go ahead and copy in some content so we have that. And I am working through some new materials. So let me go grab those. Grab that. And copy that in. Because our next step is to head over into our document. This is another place where you can access the Unsplash repository, but I wanted to kind of show you what you can do with it. So I'm going to pretend for a minute I've been working on this document here that's kind of about melody and where melody comes from. And I've got some information down below about some of our time periods. And I want to add a little bit more to this particular part of the page. So at least the students don't have all text going this far down the page. So now the Unsplash repository shows up in two different places within your Ultra document. In the content area, in your image icon, you have the options for the Unsplash repository or for the AI to generate images. Keep in mind, due to a recent update with the generate images option, it does only generate one image. So let's see what it does with melody. See what it does with that. And sometimes it does take a minute for the AI to do art. But what you do with some of these images is take them and then start refining them you start refining it based on more descriptions. So you would type in more key terms or descriptions, keep clicking the generate button until you get an image that you want to work with. The Unsplash repository option, you have the search features where you can select the images as you go. Now here's where I mentioned earlier that you're going to want to kind of check some of that alternative text. It's saying here that it's a black and white electric guitar. Well, it's not. It's that melody line on the sheet of piano music. So I would want to adjust this alternative text if this was the image that I was going to use. So I wanted to kind of point that out that it's there, but you always want to double check it. Now, the other place that you'll find it is in the image block itself. So if you were going to use an image block rather than your text editor for the images, you have those same three options. Love the consistency. And there are those same images or similar images based on those search terms. a piece of music. Now I'm going to copy that because now as part of the image block, you have the ability to add an image caption, not just the alternative text for screen readers. So melody from, I'm going to rewrite it just a little bit. I'm going to have it below the music, below the image, and it's view only. And remember with these blocks, they are resizable and movable around the page. So your instructional designers and faculty are going to be able to really design out a nice looking page for your students. So let's see how that's looking. Yeah, looking pretty good there. Now, the other thing that I wanted to show you in our documents, that is a brand new tool within the AI Design Assistant, just released a few months ago, like 1 or 2 months ago, not that long ago, and that's the layout option. What the layout option will do is actually take your content and do exactly that. It suggests a layout. Now, what I've noticed about this is that it typically takes your headers or your titles, pulls them out into their own blocks, has the text in their own blocks. That way you can kind of start separating that out. It makes it easier later on as you're adding images to have all these different blocks. There is an option for generating images if you like to. You don't always get Unsplash images added in. It just kind of depends on what it does that round of generation. And it is including knowledge checks. Now, the knowledge check is one of my favorite blocks within the document. I think it's really cool that we have this anonymous self-check system built in for our students. And the fact that we can get those kind of pre-populated is really nice. And you always want to check it for accuracy and bias. And I will share, based on the length of that answer, I would probably want to rewrite it because that kind of draws the eye and makes me think that's a correct answer just based on the fact that it's longer than the others. So, but that's okay. I can apply this layout. Now I can start working with this and kind of moving things around, inserting images where I want to. I might want to break this part up into its own block. Let me clean that up. And maybe have these side by side and probably have some spaces in. But I can start working with the text a little bit more. But I've got a starting place. Very handy if you've got lots of content. Yes, question from the room.
Yeah, so this feature, is it already in production or is it something that's coming up soon? I know you mentioned 2 months ago, but is it that it's already available for us? We can turn it on from our end?
This particular one is available. Yeah.
Okay.
The document. I think it was released maybe. See, August was a little bit delayed, so we're in the middle of August, and I would be used to saying like this month, but we just got August like last week. So okay. I think it started in July. This little double plus sign. Okay. And on the AI Design Assistant, I want to say that it was called Layouts or something like that. Okay. On the building block. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
So think about this for a minute. And this is where, like, if your faculty are trying to figure out, why would I use this? Remember that one of their block options is convert a file. So if they have that big long Word document of text, or they have that PDF that they use, and they pull in that file, it converts it to that one big block of text in the document. Then you can tap into the layout and it'll break that block up, that one block, into multiple blocks so the instructor or designer can start working with those individual blocks. Sometimes it does break it in a weird spot. had it break in the middle of a set of bullet points. And sometimes it's getting better. They keep working and improving all of these tools. But I can definitely see that, the converter file and the layout being used together a lot in the future. So I'm excited about that one. Okay. Great questions. Let me double check the list, make sure I haven't gone too far off. I can get into some rabbit holes here. Excellent. Okay, we are right on track. Let me go ahead and do one more item, and then we're going to get into assignments and assessments and other types of toys. And I'm going to go ahead and build our question bank that we're going to need later on. So I'm going to head over down to the question bank area now that I have some content over in my module 1 area, and I can start building some test banks that I'm going to use later on in some tests. Now, your ability to create questions are in both the question bank area and in the test itself. So you don't have to build question banks first. I'm not doing that for that reason. I'm doing this to show you that if you have faculty who are creating their own content or they're trying to get good question banks, they have that ability as well. I'm using an OER book. I've been with that book about a year and a half now, and it didn't come with ancillary materials. And it's also an unsupported book. So I'm getting a little freedom from the original publisher and the university that paid for it to be written to, take it and kind of do what I want with it, and kind of rework with some of the content, fix things, and definitely get some other ancillary materials. One of the things that I needed to do with it was get question banks. And so as I break up the content, I can go and create those question banks and use them later on in my tests. When you turn on the ability for question banks, you will see the auto generate. There's that double plus sign again underneath or in that plus sign within your bank area. And it'll be an option in the list already, or if you have questions already in the list. Now, the first time it looks at your course, we've seen that already with several of the tools. It looks at the course, and then you can start refining. Left-hand menu again, I can select course content. Now we have some more stuff going on in our course. Let me go grab those 2 content items. And I'm got to decide, do I want to inspire me? You can do inspire me, which is kind of the buffet of different question types. Essay, fill in the blank. Jumbled sentence. Matching, multiple choice, and true false. Now, if you do one particular question type, you can't do 2, like multiple choice and true false. You would have to do it a second time to get your true false questions if you're doing a bank with both of those. But I'm going to tell it I only want some multiple choice right now. Again, I'm going to check my complexity. I've got freshmen, and we're going to go ahead and formulate 15 questions. You can go all the way up to 20. And that's up to, if there's not enough content for 20 questions, it's not going to repeat itself that many times. You may get a fewer number of questions. Advanced options are there in case you need anything in a language. And go ahead and I'm going to click generate again. Sip of coffee, and we have our questions. This is where you definitely want to check for accuracy and bias, and maybe read through it out loud. Make sure it sounds like you. Make sure the question makes sense. because what makes sense to the AI may not make sense to your students. And if you used a different term in class, like a different way of saying something, definitely check it. But this is a great way to knock out some of those lower level questions, vocabulary based type questions, maybe some higher order thinking skills with some of the harder question types like essay, etc. That type of thing. So, yep, that's in the rhythm block. That's there. While I'm looking at these, I am double checking the correct answer. That one's going to be confusing. I don't necessarily like that, the way they worded that answer, so I'm not going to use that. But you kind of see that the instructor can read through these, select what they want. We studied that more in Broke period. And then at the bottom, there's add to the question bank. That's enough to add. We're going to add those to my question bank. So I can go directly to that question bank. One thing to note, the title is a generated bank and with the date. So I choose, this is a me thing, I have to retitle those almost immediately. Which one? QB or something, or else I won't know what that is later on when I look at it, because I won't remember what I did on the 19th. I have a 3-year-old. I can barely remember what I did yesterday. Well, she'll be 3 in 2 weeks. So, yeah. So if you see a bunch of generated banks, they're tapping into that AI design assistant. But here are our questions. If I need to edit anything, I can. Everything has a 3-dot more option menu. I can edit, I can delete, I can add to, I can rewrite, I can do whatever I need to within this question bank. Now, adding more questions to it, because I want to use the same bank for all of Module 1. As soon as I get those other documents generated or created in my course, I can come right back in here, auto-generate questions, select those new items, and continue building that bank. It's not you just have it for these set of questions and you're done. No, not the case. So discard knows, and I've got these. So far we have done a lot. We have started with our blank course. We've got our course images. We've got our learning module structure built out, not in the order that it needs to be, but it's built out. We can refine later. I've started replacing images on those learning modules. I've already started working on some of my content, and I've got my question banks started. So this is a pretty good point to be at, in the semester that's coming, hopefully in the spring or whenever it's coming. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. That way everybody gets a chance to move around, head down to a hallway or two, stretch, however, whatever you need to do. We're going to gather back together about 5 minutes after the hour. And when we gather back, we're going to start working on this role of music in society module and start creating some assignments and activities, the conversation, all those things, and then eventually wind back to our test. So that's kind of our goal for the second part of today's session. So again, let's gather back about 5 minutes after the hour. Now, because Teams is the way Teams is, I can't pause the recording. So if you're referring back to the recording afterwards, just go ahead and fast forward through this next 10 minutes or so and through the music, and we'll pick it back up. Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully that was a nice quick break. Give you a chance to move around, head down hallways as you're able to. Get refreshed and renewed. Calm the brain a little bit. So as we continue, before we start, let me just get a quick check-in from y'all that y'all are back. Give me some thumbs up. There we go.
Sorry, I can't find my thumbs up real quick, so we're here.
No, I appreciate it. I stopped one break one time and nobody had gotten back to the room. It was, yeah. So I appreciate that. Yay. As we head back into our course, our next step is to really start thinking about some activities for our students. So we're going to start diving into where the AI Design Assistant is within the other areas of your course, like assessments and those participation tools. So we're going to head over into our Create menu. Now keep in mind that Design Assistant is built into these tools, so when you enable them, there's no green flash. Your faculty don't really notice anything different. It's just adding an extra button to a lot of our screens. So we're actually going to start with our discussion. I know when I build content, I tend to have a bunch of stuff going on, like a bunch of content and then discussion and then an assignment or a test. So my next logical place would be a discussion activity. Now, we're going to start calling these music in society activities because I've got them all in that particular module. And this is our discussion. Now, you do not have to start with a title for discussion journal assignment. It is helpful if you have a title because that will give the design assistant a direction. If you do not have a title, it just bounces off like the course title, and it will give you something that goes along with your course. So in my case, something that would be music appreciation. But I do want to give it a little bit of help, and that's just a trick. You can always have it regenerate titles as part of the content that it generates if you go through the left-hand panel. Now, one thing I've noticed with discussions is it tends to give you 3 different levels as far as cognitive level, as expected. It gives you the top 4 from Bloom's taxonomy: apply, analyze, evaluate, create. So it's never going to ask you to just have your students remember something, read and regurgitate, that type of thing. You do get a mixture. With all 3 of these activities, discussion, journal, assignment, you do tend to start out with 3 option. I have not seen it give you less. 3 is the default. If you want to have it regenerate, you can select a particular cognitive level, and it'll give you 3 options around that. But you're going to find that even though it says analyze, it may ask your students to do something a little bit creative. So it may ask them to include a pamphlet or a podcast script or something else. The goal is to have an activity that may not be readily, or you may not just be able to pop into an AI and have the answer spit out, because it tends to be, think about this and add your own opinion and add whatever. Now, these are starting places. Just like with our content or questions, you want to read it out loud. You want to make sure it sounds like you or the course or the program that you're in, that tone that's part of the writing. And I would also break it down. I would reformat instead of having just this blob. I'd reformat the text. I would go through and maybe add bullet points for some things that needed if there's a list in there. You definitely want to go in at the end and put in any requirements like number of replies, information around requirements for initial posts, for your assignments, if there's a page length, etc., a particular format that you want, style guide you're following, all of those things. So starting places. We're not going to do all of that today, but that's what I would do afterwards after getting one of these prompts. So it is picking up cultural identities, society. This one asks them to include a diagram. Music is a catalyst for social change. That might be good for a 20th century. Include a video clip, create a mock scenario. Instead of a mock one, maybe go through the news and find a real one to cite as part of citations. You know, you can start using these ideas as that, like I said, it's a starting point. So it's brainstorming. It's supposed to engage and inspire. I like this top one. So we're going to go for that one. If I didn't like it, I can start back over. Redirect the AI to certain course content. Choose a different cognitive level, reset the complexity, all the things, click generate. And once I've selected add, selected my topic and add, here's the fun part. And this is why I mentioned you want to go in through the editing process. I've got a blob of text here. I want to make it my own. This is where I would take that, read through it, break it down, maybe rewrite some things, throw in the requirements, all that stuff. And I've got my full text editor to do that. So we're going to go ahead and click save because we don't want to worry about that stuff today. And now I'm ready to set up the grading. So let me turn on grading and we can go for that grading rubric. When the AI Design Assistant is turned on for rubrics, you see that generate button. One of the other places where it's not that double plus sign. This button will show up in your activities where you can generate a rubric as well as the rubric area in your gradebook settings. So it's going to show up in all of those different places with the same toggle. Love it. Now with the rubrics, it will go through and read the prompt that it's connected to and generate the rubric based on that particular prompt. It starts out with a percentage-based prompt. You can adjust that to points, point range. At this point, give it more description, redo it. If this is the only change that you're making, the type, but not changing any of the other things, I would probably just continue and take care of that in the editing process. But if you needed to adjust anything else, like the size, language, whatever, you can change that rubric type here as well. Always AI-generated content needs to be checked for accuracy. I had one where this was a long time ago. It was a bug, and they fixed it. All of a sudden, the exemplary, it was like the levels of achievement were all switched. So that didn't last very long. They fixed that really quickly. So, pencils everywhere, so you can always adjust. Discussion rubric. Edit the titles, edit your criteria titles if you need to, or adjust those percentages. You can add, insert, all the things you can with a regular rubric. All the same rules apply. And you can adjust the type of rubric if you want. All 5 types are now available. No points arrived this summer, so we're excited about that. And once the editing process is done, click Save. That adds the rubric to the list so you can add it to your activity. And Make any other setting changes you need to. Click Save, and you have your discussion activity. Again, always do those good edit exercises with your prompts. That way you've got that nice prompt for your student. I'm going to check in with the group. Any questions around discussions or rubrics at this point?
Nope, all set. Thank you. At least from my end.
Awesome. Catherine, what, doing good?
Yeah, I'm all good.
Excellent. Discussion usually gets a lot of the talking points that I can cover. So we're going to go through assignment and journals really quickly, just kind of pointing out some of the differences. I'm going to go back into that create menu and go for that assignment. I am going to adjust the size of my screen because I realized at the beginning, I think I clicked that double plus sign button pretty quickly. This auto generate button at the top. Sometimes you'll see the full button, but because of the kind of adaptive screen size, you may just see it as a double plus sign button. That lets it kind of tuck itself way over in the corner. So if faculty are a little confused about where it is, they may need to adjust how wide their screen is. So let's do our assignment. There we go. And again, auto-generate. You don't have to give it a title. I know I mentioned that earlier. I like to give it titles. It gives it a direction, but you don't have to. You can select course content that you may want it to look at in case there's other content or activities. In this case, that discussion board, I might want it to explore some of that, at least that prompt, in order to get some more ideas. Very handy when you're creating test questions, because then you can dig into your activity prompts for test questions. Adjust that cognitive level, always getting that top level of blooms, and complexities or new titles. Now with assignments, you typically don't see just write a paper. Sometimes a paper will be part of the assignment, but one thing that I notice with these prompts is that they really lean themselves to opportunities for scaffolding. And you might see multiple step projects in them. So let's take this first one. Reflect on how music is a catalyst for change. They pick a specific movement or event, so they can do some pre-writing on that research. You've got not just the role that music played, so that's kind of the paper that they have to submit as part of this, but also an infographic. So again, that's another pre-writing activity that they may want to go through and include as part of their paper. And consider quoting, or fake interviews. That could be a way to incorporate the conversation tool. Have the instructor or the designer create that mock interview or role play conversation that matches with this assignment. So you can take these and spread them out, not just get one activity, but even out of that one prompt, I see at least 3 or 4 different activities that could be part of this. So you're scaffolding the learning and the assessing part of the activity for the student, breaking it down for them, and kind of guiding them to success. Now that's just the first one. I haven't even looked at the second one. That one's got photographs and audio clips. I would have that as part of this first one too. Here's my other tip and trick. This bottom one is really good for music therapy class. Sorry. My other tip and trick, if you like something and you can't use it now, copy and paste it out into a Word document. Have a running Word document kind of on your computer somewhere with ideas. And that way you can build your own repository of activities for later on. Yes, I see a hand up over in the chat.
So, quick question. On the left-hand side where you have the enter a description or set of keywords, like are you able to type in like that you want a certain type of assignment for this? Like for example, like an authentic assignment or letting it know like, hey, I want you to give me something that's like an essay style. Like, can you add that kind of wording to it?
Yeah, we're gonna do that. An essay on
And so what you're feeding it here is not just a description, but also still that document, correct?
yes, so you're getting kind of both.
Okay.
MLA format, 2 pages, include citations. Lower that because I teach freshmen. I have to remind myself. The complexity level, you'll notice it stays kind of in this top range there. Okay, now what it's doing is still kind of it's pulling these because we were already music and society, and that's because of the title that I gave it. It's still asking for more than what I gave it. So this is something you're going to want to play with if you have specific requirements for the assignment. And that's where that title, discard and close, thank you. The title may be handy. I'm going to change that to paper. I'm going to add essay paper in there. See if that kind of kicks it. The other thing that it's going to do is, by nature, the AI design assistant with assignments especially adds more of those other components because it's looking for the authentic assessment. It's looking for not just the paper. If that makes sense. It's the other things that the self-reflection or the pictures or the diagrams, those are the things that aren't readily recreated through your chat GPT.
Okay.
Yes,
right,
it'll create. Yeah. So, these are some nice ones. We're going to grab this top one. This one really focuses on culture. This one's for a video montage. That's pretty cool. Okay, there we go. Let's go into that rubric. Go. Same generate button as we saw before. This time it's going to be reviewing the prompt for our assignment. Keep in mind you can always make adjustments on that left-hand panel. If you're just changing the rubric type but not any of the other text, you may want to just do that in the editing mode. And click continue if it's something that you want to start off with. Always update the title. You don't have to always update the title, but if you notice we're going through this pretty quickly. I would have 3 rubrics with basically the same date and time. I'm not going to remember what's going on there. So this is our assignment rubric. Music and society. And All the same rules apply. You can edit, add, insert, update, change, everything. Line with goals, however you need to use it. But always read through it, make sure it sounds like you are the instructor, and it's got the right tone for use in your class. And we have our rubric attached. Yay. Now, our third type of activity is that journal. Journals, much like discussions, allow the students to kind of reflect and dig deeper into certain topics. But unlike discussions, it is private between the instructor and the student. Journals, great for, like I said, reflective writing, digging deeper, and all sorts of purposes. I see them not being as used as much as they could be. It takes a lot of time to kind of formulate journals, but with the design assistant, you get some help with that. And instead of a music and society, we're going to do a listening journal for this one. Because I want to show you that the prompts, once they start generating, kind of start giving you the idea that journals don't have to happen just once. So within your course, journals can be used kind of basically two ways. A one-time activity, reflect on your learning for this module, or what do you think about this particular topic? And it's just private discussion between the instructor and the student. Or you have this ongoing activity every week, every couple of weeks, they have to write a journal entry. Both ways. And your prompts kind of discuss that. This first one's weekly basis, bi-weekly basis. This third one probably says on a monthly basis. You're going to see that almost every time with your journals. So the instructors, designers have to read and update any of that text, or it's going to give your students the wrong instructions. So something to be aware of. Oh, personal playlist. I see this one a lot. Add that purple personal playlist. But similar to the assignment and discussion, we have those cognitive levels represented. You can always adjust complexity or even generate new titles. And we're going to add this. So, and just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and save that. And we're going to head over into our journal settings. Mark it for grading. Discussion and journal need to be marked for grading. And then you can add your rubric. One thing I'm wanting to see, I've seen a lot more of clarity and organization in the AI-generated rubrics lately. I'm not seeing as much of the an entry was made weekly, an entry was made monthly, that it's tracking that part of the instructions. So one thing I've done with mine is, or my discussion rubrics is, I leave the I've got the main portion of the rubric, but in the editing mode, I've been adding some rows to catch some of those extra things that the AI design assistant didn't catch. So keeping it real there. If you like what you see, click add, and then go right into journal rubric. The edit mode, same rules apply as before. You can switch out your type, edit anything about the rubric, percentages, etc. I always use a percentage-based rubric. That's just me. One thing to note about percentage-based rubrics, if you go over that 100%, it'll ask you to rebalance it, and it will rebalance. Basically, everything gets 25%. If you are under, it will also kind of alert you that you're not at 100%. So, like what you have, click Save. There we go. And add it to the activity. So now we have our journal activity. So 3 different activities that we got to kind of explore through that lens of that AI design assistant. Now, the next type of activity that I wanted to show was the AI conversation. This is the student-facing activity. Some institutions have AI kind of, they don't want students to use it, so they're not looking at it at all. If you guys are looking at it, it is pretty nice. It lets your instructors or designers build out a scenario for your student to interact with that AI, kind of as they would another person, kind of using it as a partner for that conversation. There are 2 different types of conversations that your student could have. The Socratic questioning, which is just that. The AI is always asking the question. They're going to have those open-ended questions, trying to push your student to the next level of thinking. Some students may be very uncomfortable with this because Socratic method is uncomfortable. You feel like you're always just the questions keep coming. There's no answer, right? But it definitely works for certain classes. The role play is that interview or the scenario where they have certain parts to play. The AI can answer the questions too, not just give the questions. But the AI could be, or the AI could be the person interviewing the student. It could be a backwards role play. In this case, all kinds of examples for these, nursing students practicing and the AI is a patient or the AI is the doctor. In my case with music appreciation, I might have the students interview a composer, say from the classical period or the romantic period, or maybe from pretend that the AI is a folk music composer of the mid-1960s and composes music for the civil rights movement, something like that. You would put in the scenario, the student's role in that scenario, and the role of the AI persona. This step is also, the instructions that the student sees. So any documentation that needs to go along with the activity so that the student can fully participate needs to be in step 2. I like this. The AI is... this is kind of totally on the fly. Now, I would have more to that. I would have bullet pointed lists, a couple of paragraphs fully describing everything, maybe a document with some of the protest song text. If I wanted them to pretend that they were the 4th member of Peter, Paul, and Mary, that type of thing. That all the stuff. Step 3 is where you build the AI persona. Now, Space Dog is the old cartoon character from the Assist tab and for, the mascot of our Blackboard dev team. So he's kind of the default persona. So we're going to pretend that Peter, Paul, and Mary has had a 4th member named Bob, and you could switch out their image. Now, the image could be Unsplash repository. It could also be the AI design assistant having some fun, or you could have it on from your own computer. So if I was having them do a discussion with, say, Mozart, I might go and find a picture of Mozart that I want to use for that persona, because that's who they're going to see. Or it's Space Dog. We're going to do folk musician. It took that as indigenous musician. There you go. We can use this one. I would want to rename that. Choose a different image if it was mine. It doesn't have to be a real person. Fictional character. What you're building is that personality. So you'll put in their personality traits, supportive, whatever other words you want to use. Active and civil rights movement, whatever else I'm building for that persona. The key is the complexity again. How difficult do you want his or her responses to be? So you'll want to adjust that. Now that's the first part of the conversation. The second part of the conversation is the reflection question at the bottom. This is mostly an open-ended question for your learners. If you needed more information, you would want to follow this up with, say, a test or an assignment or maybe a journal activity for them to give further feedback. This is where you could also say, answer with, I agree that I did the chat myself. If you're trying to do academic integrity type stuff. The basic question, in what ways did the conversation advance your understanding, is a pretty good one. Just note that you can edit that if you need to later. Now, the conversation is actually built off of the testing platform. So you'll notice that they both have point values. I don't know why the conversation part is 0 points. But you can give point values to this. So let's say the conversation itself is 25 points, and maybe this part is 5 points, and you got a 30-point activity or something. So you can make those adjustments. Yes, sir.
How does that look like in the Grade Center? Are there separate columns for that, or is it just still one column and it just separates it by points?
It's one column, and I don't have a submission yet. I think that's all I have to do. No, let me pull it out of the thing real quick. My other example, I don't have any student responses in the other example. I was thinking if I did. But here we go. Start attempt. So this is what the conversation would look like for the student. It looks like that same test where they have that line at the top that starts, hi, Bob. They do have to click send each time. It's not just enter. I do that every time. Yay. One thing we've learned is that the AI does not finish up the conversation. The student has to kind of wrap up the conversation for them, which is nice. This was fun. And submit. Now let's turn back around. They do get a submission receipt. Yay. And it's defaulted for one attempt. That can be adjusted in the settings, if the instructor does want them to go through it multiple times, they can. I forgot to mention that. Much like an a test. So it's going to give off test vibes for a while and for an instructor. And I will share that at one point, I asked the developers about rubrics in this, and I'm crossing my fingers. They said goals. They always tell me about goals. Once we have rubrics on essay questions, I think it'll be easy for them to get rubrics in this portion as well. So let's look at that submission. So here's my student submission. Flexible grading view, so I can see my list of students just like I would for a test or an assignment. And I have my feedback area where I can even provide audio and video feedback if I need to. And in the middle, you're going to see that full AI chat. This is what you're missing if your students are off on their own using Gemini or ChatGPT or all the other 50 million tools that are now available. Is yes, they could copy and paste part of that chat, or do you get the full picture? And having the tool in Blackboard, you get the full picture of that chat. And then their question at the bottom. Now, because these act like essay questions, you get that full feedback box on both questions. So you can grade that chat, provide that feedback if need be, and grade that optional or that question down at the bottom. And remember, when we set this up, either one of these could be extra credit. So you could have the chat built in and that extra credit at the bottom to give them a little booster points to get that feedback, and then follow this up with another type of activity. Or use this as pre-writing for the assignment that they need to finish later on. Or if they're theater classes and they're writing out a script, they could kind of role play some stuff and then write the script based on some of that role play. So fun uses of it. Yes.
So, okay, so it's all in one grade then. So like the essay part and the conversation, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. So my question now is in regards to Netiquette. If a student were to get inappropriate with it, is there like guardrails for that?
Well, probably I don't think built into the AI itself. The instructor certainly would see it.
Okay.
Because it is a gradable activity. And as long as they're not marking it to be submitted anonymously, they'll see their name.
Right. So once they, like, for example, once they submit and they say, "Hi, Bob," they can't go back and edit that and like delete it and
not that attempt. Not that attempt.
Okay. Now, what if they are doing this, but they don't submit it? They actually cancel out. I'm assuming it cancels everything out that they typed in, correct or no?
I want to say, I think it keeps it as an open attempt.
Okay.
Kind of like a test would.
Okay. So there's no way that they can change anything after the fact.
After they submit, no. Because just like a test or an assignment, once they've submitted, it's submitted.
Yeah, and that I understand. I was wondering if they don't submit it. I was wondering, are they able to like be inappropriate with it without submitting it and then just canceling out their submission? Because I know our faculty are probably going to ask this question, and we just want to make sure that because we provide netiquette policies sometimes in our at least for online grad courses, we provide a netiquette policy, and so if that's the case, then that's something we also want to share with faculty who don't teach an online course, who wants to use this.
Yeah, I've never done the second submission or gone out and like come back in. So let's do this live and in person. I'm going to give myself a second attempt and second attempt. Save button. Whew. My student preview mode is trying to take over. Nice. Okay. Now I'm not going to get inappropriate with this because that's not fair.
That's completely fine. I just want to see if you are able to post that.
It's Tuesday. at the end of the day. Now, send. So we've got them kind of talking back with me. And let's see if I can leave and come back. Because I have a meeting or I have whatever. Da, 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 da. Save and close, just like a test or an assignment. Come back, leave, blah, 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 go pick up kid from daycare, all kinds of pretend. Come back in a little while later, continue. And there's my full chat. Yeah.
Yep. All right, so they can't do anything.
Now, testing. Save and close.
That one I would assume they could edit.
Yeah, they can come back in and edit this, but these they cannot.
Okay.
Now
I'm gonna throw another wrench at you real quick.
Yeah.
What if you didn't hit save and close?
If you just closed it?
Yeah, if you if you just closed your tab, or you just went back, like you closed you clicked on the white X in the top left, and just got out of the course, or just went like.
Oh, okay, we can do that. We can do that. Continue. Submarine. My daughter's favorite thing in the world is the Loch Ness Monster. And she loves the fact that it actually has a yellow submarine at the Loch Ness Monster. Oh, so instead of closing, we are just going to completely close the browser. And pretend student got shut down. They had the phone call. They didn't even get the opportunity to hit close. As you notice, I'm still back in my student preview mode. Yep. Because sometimes that happens and student preview takes over. And there's my yellow submarine comment.
So it'll submit it right automatically for them too. All right, awesome. Good to know.
Now they still haven't submitted the item.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that if it saved the draft or if it just wouldn't. So knowing that it saves it for them if they do close out by accident, but also to know that anything that if they get inappropriate, there will be a record of it. That's all. Okay.
Now, one thing we are going to do, we're going to comb through this, prohibit late submissions, new attempts. It is marked formative by default, grade attempts. I've never seen an option in here that says anything about answering, like editing answers. And I have not heard any of that on roadmaps or anything that I've seen. But that's never to say that all of a sudden that's an idea that gets put out anywhere. So keep an eye out for that, because I can appreciate that. You can enable, I don't know if y'all are Turnitin or Safe Assign. If you're Safe Assign, you can enable Safe Assign.
Yep, Safe Assign.
Okay, so you can enable that. I'm not sure what that report looks like. Not doing test conversations like this where I just say, hi, Bob, does not give good reports at all. So you'll want to play with that with a class. You can also do things at a time limit. That might be helpful as well. You have 30 minutes to do this role-playing conversation, or a 15-minute to do this. If they're using it nursing to do this patient evaluation, I mean, nurses are in and out. You got 5 minutes, right? Maybe with the nurse. So 15 minutes for practice, that's pretty good. We don't have any of the testing tools enabled on our system. If y'all are like a Respondus tool, you may want school, you may see Respondus show up. I don't know. That may help lock some things down as well. But I've never seen the thing to edit responses as you go. So I think we have a good test for you through some of this. Kind of promising on there. Now, because it is like a test or an assignment and they have a draft like that, the instructor can't see the drafts. That's never really kind of been a possibility. I've seen before on some of the roadmaps where submit for the student has been a popular option. I don't know where that is in development. So if somebody has a draft in there like this student did, just playing come in and out, the student would need to go back in and submit that draft. So there could be that opportunity where they have an unsubmitted draft that may have some ugly on it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Quick other question.
Mm-hmm.
What categories does this go into?
Oh, you can put it in whatever category you want. So
by default, what does it go into?
Oh,
Is like no category or assignment? Okay, got
assignment.
It. Okay. All right,
yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Formative is enabled by default. Default is assignment, even though it's the test layout. One attempt was the default, and the point value is based on the calculation of the points you give the questions. So it's kind of like this weird blend of assignment and test. So. Oh, you want to, I got you one better. Here we go. You can auto-generate conversations. So if you have somebody, or for like your team, if you want to play with it, if you have it turned on your test site, you don't want to release it to instructors yet, you can go in and play and have AI auto-generate your conversation. Now here's the cool part. You don't have to do the whole conversation, like the whole setup. You could have them, the AI design assistant, say generate the persona or generate the reflection question, just part of it. If you're just playing around, or if you're wanting to try it out, show it off to some faculty, this may be a great way to get some kind of pre-filled examples for them, so you're not having to build the entire activity. So. Yeah. Okay, last activity as we round out the day, we do have to go back in and actually build our test. Now this will be quick because we've already built out our test questions in our test bank, but I did want to kind of circle back to that and show you that you can use your test bank. Let's get that pool in there. We've got our question bank from there. We're going to add those to our pool, select 2 of that 6, but auto-generate question is still part of the regular test list. So you don't have to go anywhere, anything extra. You could just build them right in the test if you're not needing that bank. And it looks exactly the same as when we were building the bank, where you can select course content, question type, etc., all the things. So I did want to circle back on that. Now my question for you is, we have about just a few minutes remaining in our session. Do you need to see where to turn it on? Or do you already have it turned on?
Yeah, so we already have it turned on. So it's building blocks and I think install tools, and yeah, so yeah, we have, and just based on what you just showed us, we just literally turned it on for the document
okay.
setting. So
excellent.
Which was, I believe, the suggested document layout. So we did that just
now. The newer tools that are coming down the pipe with the new AVA tools, those will be on this list as well. You can start exploring those. Now, just to note, these are the tools that you have available right now are part of the basic. These will be part of the basic. The new AVA tools that are coming, some of those will require a license, and there may be some fees later on, but these will always be free and built in.
Okay.
So just keep an eye out if you're wanting to explore more. Those new tools are going to be really cool because it'll be including like summaries, AI-generated summaries of the rubrics for the students. And there may be some rewriting capabilities for the instructors as far as feedback goes, and some other things.
Okay.
The other piece, keep in mind that there is a privilege attached to the AI design assistant full admins have the privilege already enabled, but if you are trying to enable it, say for your faculty or other course roles, instructional designer, system roles, there is the privilege that you'll need to look for. And they recently redid that. So I always search for AI design assistant, and it's this whole big list where they broke everything out. And that privilege has to be enabled if you're going to assign it to a role that's not a full system admin.
So by default, instructors, we had to turn it on for them, correct?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, if you want instructor access, that's a way for you to control access. Like if you only wanted system admins and maybe your instructional designers to have it, your instructional designers probably have a system role that's giving them certain access to the system, but not everything. You would need to enable that on their system role. And then if you wanted full and like regular instructors, no system role, but they have that course role to have it, enable the privilege on the course role.
Got it. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. So, and sorry, I said it kind of wrong. So by default, it's off. We have to go and turn it on. And
yes.
we've done that. I just want to make sure that that's what I remember doing. Okay. So, thank you.
There's no privilege on the student account to enable if you do the conversation. There's no extra second step for them.
Okay.
So, yay. Okay.
Thank you.
Guys, this has been fun. This has been an awesome kind of afternoon. I'm so glad I got to dig into AI with y'all today. I know we're almost up to the minute. I want to encourage you to just get in there and play if you haven't yet. Explore what you have, dig a little deeper. I hope you have faculty kind of exploring it too. If they need a place to start with the rubrics. That's where I like to start.
Okay, excellent. So, thank you.
Yeah, Julie's going to be sharing the recording with y'all later on whenever it gets ready. And if y'all have any questions, please send them in.
Okay, and then just one last question for you. Sure. The Anthology Trust Center, the link that I was able to get to it, but is that the guardrails for the AI assistant? Pretty much like given a layout of everything, like the breakdown of how that tool works.
Well, I wouldn't not necessarily guardrails around how it functions. A lot of that is on the help site. This is kind of the thought processes for development.
Okay.
The guiding principles. That's what I like to think of them as. Guiding principles.
Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
So awesome.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, guys. See y'all later.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.